right now. PFF, they gave some really high grades. Sam Monson was on, and they talked about the over-under wins for the AFC North. And one of the teams that they first talked about was the Cleveland Browns. And not only does Sam believe that the Cleveland Browns have a dynamic roster, which could be the best in the league, he also says if they get at least average play from Deshaun Watson, the Browns could be a Super Bowl contender.
Over 8.5. I know where you're going here with the Browns, the biggest off-season hype machine for the Browns. It's Sam over there. So tell us why you're taking the over 8.5 here.
Definitely taking the over, and for not the same reasons that we've been saying. I'm saying, look, an elite level quarterback gets you to 10 wins. Write it in stone, and then the rest of the roster is going to get you the rest. The Browns have the opposite problem, where they might have the best roster in the NFL, but a quarterback who, in Deshaun Watson, has shown no ability to be an elite quarterback since he's arrived in Cleveland. So to me, this is a 10-win team if Watson plays even average football this year. The roster is that good. If he gets anywhere approaching his better play, they're like a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I just love every aspect of this roster. Really good offensive line. Okay, we don't know what Nick Chubb is going to be coming back off that devastating injury, but I think they've got good contingency there, both of the players that were there before, bringing in Deontay Foreman just in case, as a sort of heavier bell cow type of running back. The defense was phenomenal last year. I think they've done a good job of retaining and adding talent there. I just think this team's phenomenal, with the one question mark being how good is Deshaun Watson going to play?
And that is courtesy of Pro Football Focus, and that clip you saw, Sam talked about. If Deshaun Watson gets anywhere near where he was, or approaching where he was in Houston, Cats is in trouble. And I look at what he said concerning the rosters. The Browns, I don't think people truly understand and kind of know exactly, if you're not watching the Browns each and every game or week in and week out, they don't really quite understand what type of roster the Browns have amassed. You talk about an offensive line that, one thing about the Jack Conklin move, you think about it, even if Jack Conklin is a guy that's coming off as a swing tackle in case somebody get hurt, in Jed Wills or DeJuan Jones, you look at a guy who's probably, as a backup, one of the best backup left tackles in the game. You look at that opportunity to bring the guy like that off the bench. They got a really good offensive line, anchored by the guys in the middle, Wyatt Teller, Ethan Pochich, and Joe Bitonio. Really good up-and-coming tight end, a guy that is coming into his own and coming off a career year in David Njoku. You look at the upgrade with Jerry Jeudy. You talk about when we get this deal done, because it will get done. The deal for Amari Cooper will get done. So you look at that deal, and you get him back into the fold. And now you've already improved your roster to a point where now you have a guy like Elijah Moore, who is a smaller type receiver that doesn't, necessarily get off the line of scrimmage too clean. Now you can move him to your slot position. Coach Stefanski talked about Cedric Tillman. Looks like he took a step in the offseason. So you have an upgraded offense and in general, and an offense that's going to be more tailored to getting the ball downfield with Deshaun Watson. And so you look at the defensive end, and obviously you got the defensive player of the year. You got the coach of the year, assistant coach of the year, and Jim Schwartz. You got 3 good corners in Newsome, Emerson, and Ward. And hopefully if you could get, the safeties, Delpit and Juan Thornhill to be somewhat healthy this season and play a full year, you're looking at a team that doesn't have very many holes at all. I look at JOK as an all-pro type candidate. And so for me, this team is stacked from head to toe. I will take a little bit of I will disagree with Sam on one thing. I've gone back and watched each and every throw of Deshaun Watson over this offseason. And one of the things I feel like that has happened is people have greatly over-exaggerated how bad Deshaun Watson was. As a matter of fact, he talks about average play. I thought Deshaun Watson played average to above average in that season. You take a look at some of the games where he didn't play very well, specifically did not play well against Pittsburgh. We saw that. Did not play all that well against Cincinnati. But it was a rainy game against Cincinnati, and the defense kind of held and won that game for him. The game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, now he had a bad game in that game, and I'm not going to lie, the little strip sack, got to hold on to the football. The strip sack, it was a blindside hit because of Jed Wills, but you got to hold on to the football, especially because you got the lead in that situation. That pretty much was the game. He played poorly in that game, but if you go back and look at the Tennessee game, played very well. Cardinals game, played very well. Baltimore Ravens played his best game on the road with a comeback win. So when you look at it, only played a couple of snaps against the Indianapolis Colts. He was 5-1 when he was a starting quarterback. So when you look at this stuff, a lot of people will tell you that he played awful. I think a lot of that is coming from people saying and repeating the same thing over and over again. But I also think it comes from us not really revisiting and taking a look exactly what he did and didn't do. Mind you, this is coming. Some of those games is after he took the hit on the shoulder, which he was not completely 100% healthy. But the main theme I want you to take away from this situation is, as we see, I've shown you the Rich Eisens of the world. I've seen the Ian Rappaports of the world. Now we go to PFF and they talk about how good this roster is. And this team is a 10-win team in their sleep. And on top of that, if they get anything from Deshaun Watson, they're a legitimate Super Bowl contending team. I've told people all along, as you get towards the season, as you continue to get closer to the season, you're going to start to see more and more individuals come around and have to lean on the tape and lean on this roster, because all the other hyperbole and stuff, the further we get away from the allegations and all of those things, the more and more we start to have our opinions rooted in basis of what's going on the field, what's happening in the film, and what's happening on that practice field. And when you look at that, the Cleveland Browns, top to bottom, have one of the best rosters. And I believe Deshaun Watson, it has a confidence level that he hasn't had since he's been in Cleveland. He's found, and I think he's comfortable right now, and I think he's going to have a bounce-back year. I think it's going to be a really special year for the Cleveland Browns, especially given what they got on this roster and Deshaun Watson coming back. With that